You are going to waste your time if you build a stitching pony. Oh, for Pete's sake. I know it's only going to take you like an hour or two to put one together. It's probably only going to cost you like, what, $10, $15 in materials? But by the time that you spend researching the design, going out and finding those materials, and then finally put it together, in reality, you could have spent 20 hours doing all this and saving what, $10, $15? All a stitching pony is a clamp for leather. How many other clamps in your shop have you spent this much time and effort on? Instead of wasting your time, I suggest you give me about 10 or 12 solid minutes. I've bought 4 different stitching ponies from Amazon, and I'm going to put each and every one of them to the test. And whichever one that I decide that I like the best, you're going to get a chance to get one absolutely free. And look, don't skip around. I want to make sure you don't miss anything important. Welcome to Big Stack's Small Workshop. The first stitching pony was just under $22 and just a little bit over 8 inches tall. It had all sorts of cool little extra things, like a needle case with some leather sewing needles, some small compact thread trimmers, 5 different colors of thread, and a whole bunch of other things. This stitching pony was made of some inexpensive softwood, and its construction was just okay. It had a cool little toggle clamp that held your leather in place while you were stitching. And it did a good job of holding the leather without clamping it too hard. So I decided to test it while stitching some leather. Not bad. If your leather shifts around, you can adjust the toggle clamp for a little bit of a tighter hold. All you have to do is tighten that nut right there. It didn't come with a base, but you could secure it to a piece of wood with some Velcro. So I made a base out of some scrap oak. And used the Velcro to fasten it to the base. I wasn't really impressed with how the Velcro held it. It wobbled a lot and shifted. Not really the best idea. But it was really nice and compact for storage or for traveling around. Do me a favor. If you're enjoying this content, please click on that like button so YouTube can share it with more makers just like you. The second stitching pony was $25 and was 13.5 inches tall. This was also made out of some softwood, but it had some nice leather around the clamping area. This stitching pony also had the same type of toggle clamp as the first one. It also came with 10 little mini clamps, which was a nice bonus. I didn't feel its construction was the best. It had some screws holding it together on one side and was nailed on the other. It came with a base that was held together with a wing nut, which wasn't exactly the easiest to install, but it's nice that no tools were necessary. Just like the first one, it held the leather in place fairly well, especially while stitching. And since the base was bolted on, it didn't shift around as much when it was bumped. The third stitching pony was the most expensive at $29. And just like number 2, it was 13.5 inches tall. As a matter of fact, this stitching pony looked exactly the same as number 2 in both size and shape. But you can see its construction is much nicer as it's screwed together and is made from a nice, durable hardwood. And it had the same toggle clamp as both the other stitching ponies, which is nice for one-handed clamping. Once clamped together, it didn't move a lot either. If it did, all I had to do was adjust the toggle clamp. Everything stayed in place nicely during the stitching. Just like the last stitching pony, it was very secure to the base and didn't wobble around much. The hardwood this stitching pony was made from is really nice, and there was no doubt it would last a long time. The fourth and final stitching pony was $27 and was 17 inches tall. It was also a lot different than the other 3. Like the last one, it was made of a nice, durable hardwood, and it was also a lot taller than any of the 3. The Allen screws that held the jaws on were shipped a little bit loose. No big deal, but the Allen wrench it came with didn't fit, so I had to use my own tools to tighten them. This stitching pony used a set of black plastic knobs to tighten the jaws. And putting the base on was what the Allen wrench it came with was for. The base was adjustable with a set of black plastic knobs as well. Too bad these knobs take 2 hands to adjust. I'm really starting to dig that one-handed toggle clamp. Oh, for Pete's sake. Well, at least it seems to hold the leather well. It can also pivot, which is nice, if you think you're going to need that. And it held everything fairly well while I was stitching. Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of this design. It really doesn't take a great detective like Ben Matlock to figure out that number 3 was my favorite stitching pony. Solid construction. Check. Toggle clamp. Check. And it really didn't move around a whole lot either. I would have never thought to use a toggle clamp when building my own, so I'm glad I didn't go that route. Looking online and finding one that was already made was definitely the right move for me. Now, if you want the exact stitching pony that I decided I'm going to keep, I am going to be giving one away. What I want you to do is leave a comment down below and ask me absolutely any question you want to about leather crafting. On May 21st, I'm going to pick my favorite question, and the person who asked that question is going to get this exact same stitching pony delivered straight to their front door. Oh, one last thing. You remember that first stitching pony we looked at? There's one thing I was particularly excited about. I decided to see if Amazon carried that exact same thing separately. And guess what? They did. I love these little needle cases. And guess what? This one actually has some needles inside there too. Check that out. I'm going to leave an Amazon link in the description down below, just in case you wanted to get one for yourself. Remember, Big Stacks grows, Big Stacks builds, and Big Stacks makes. If you're looking for more leatherworking videos, click on this playlist right here of my favorite ones. And I'll see you next time at Big Stacks Small Workshop.